So there's this narrative out there that if a home is a foreclosure, it's automatically the best deal ever, and you can just write them this ridiculously lowball offer and it'll get accepted just because it's a foreclosure. I'm that agent Kelly. I talk about Canadian real estate and my local market of Abbotsford and the Fraser Valley. If you're into that, subscribe, like the video. If you want to chat, there's a link in my description that goes into my calendar. So listen, I'm gonna be straight with you guys. I don't know a whole lot about foreclosures. I am not the foreclosure expert, but I have written quite a few offers on them, and I'm going to go over what I have learned in my experience writing those offers. Most of the time, pretty much every single time that I've written an offer on a foreclosure, the seller is extremely hard-headed. The owner of the home has stopped making their payments, and now the lender who lent them the money has basically taken control of the asset, and they are listing the home for sale so they can sell it and recoup the capital that they have invested into the asset, i.e. foreclosure, or AKA foreclosure. Back in the day, from my understanding, the lender, the seller, or the lender, whatever you want to call him, who is now taking control of that asset, could sell the home at pretty much whatever price they thought was necessary in order to recoup their capital. So if the owner of the home has put down a 20% down payment and maybe the value has dropped 10%, they still have 10% equity in that home because they put down 20, the home has dropped 10, they still have 10 in there. Well, in the past, from my understanding, a lender could just sell the property for, say, 10% less than market value to recoup their entire 80%, which is all the money that they've lent on the property. But then the owner would just lose the 10% of their equity and they'd basically have nothing at the end of that sale. That's how I understand how it worked before. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments. However, today, from my understanding, it's different. The lender cannot just sell the property for whatever they think is necessary or whatever they need to do to get their capital back. They have a legal and ethical obligation to try to sell the property for market value, or at least as close to market value as possible. So if they were to accept a really, really lowball offer, they would have to have some justifiable reason for why they did that, because that still has to go through court approval. The court has to approve the transaction. And if they're accepting an offer 50% less than market value, well, from my understanding, the court is likely not going to approve that. So the way they work is you typically write the offer, and the seller or the listing agent, or basically that side of the transaction, will give you what's called a Schedule A. The Schedule A outlines all of the terms and conditions that need to be put in the offer when you present the offer. So 9 out of 10 times you can't even choose the terms in which you are offering on the property. The seller outlines the terms you are going to put in the contract. You can't choose the completion day, you can't choose the possession day, and a lot of times you're not even allowed to include an inspection or financing subject. Offer gets accepted, then you have to wait 2 to 4 weeks for your court date, right? So you get the accepted offer, 2 to 4 weeks passes, you get your court date, you show up in court, and this is what really sucks about foreclosures, right? So even if you get your ridiculously lowball offer accepted, right? You get it 20% below market value somehow, right? Well, they have to publicly advertise the price that the property is under contract for. Meaning, if you have a really, really, really good deal, everybody is going to know that you got a good deal. And when you show up to the court date 2 to 4 weeks from now, other people are allowed to show up and attempt to outbid you. So if you got a very, very good deal, there's a very high likelihood that somebody else is going to come and bid more than you on the court date. So you buy it without, any of your own terms in there, any of your own conditions. You have a chance to be outbid. And to add to this, you have to buy the house in what's known as an as-is condition. So if you try to write in the contract, included are all the appliances, they will actually cross that out because they cannot guarantee or take liability that the appliances will even be there when you take possession. The owner could take them with them. They could probably trash the house, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It's sold as an as-is condition. So foreclosures, for the most part, are they're usually priced. They're price adjusted for the risk you're going to inherit when you buy that property. So for an example, I just wrote an offer on one that was probably worth 1.7. They had it priced at 1.6 because they know the buyer is taking on some additional risk by purchasing the property. But when the seller chooses their list price, they are typically going to be very, very sticky with that list price. There's very, very little negotiation that happens in my experience. So foreclosures definitely are a more investor style type of product, being that, the risk is a lot higher, but also not being able to choose your dates. So like typically how the completion date works is you get your court approval, and then they say 30 days after court approval is the completion date. Excellent. However, we don't know when we're going to get that court date. They just give you a time frame. It'll happen likely sometime within this time frame. Well, that doesn't help if you have a house to sell and you got to move from that house into this one, or if you're renting somewhere and you're going to move from there to there. Not having that date makes it very difficult for somebody who's actually buying it to live in. And then on top of that, you have all of the risk where you could be buying something that's trashed or has no appliances, or whatever the case may be, on completion or on possession day. So all this being said, are foreclosures a good deal? It's the same as any other real estate. It can be. It's a case-by-case basis. Other times, maybe you're just paying the market value for that home. And in a lot of cases, they can actually just not be a good deal. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you got any value. Like this video. I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you.